So in yesterday we discussed what is the how the data recovery can be done. So what are the tools for that? Okay, for Play Store, if you go for disk digger, okay, if you type disk digger in Play Store, you can get so many tools. And one of the fantastic tool we discussed one is nerosoft.net. Okay, so you can in this site you can find a number of tools for different accepts. It may be a password recovery, it may be a password sniffing, it may be image sniffing, DNS sniffing. Okay, and if you want to check some wireless connections, how many wireless connections are connected to your PC, what are the passwords. So this information readily available in this website, nerosoft.net. Okay, so there's a bunch of tools we can see in this website, nerosoft.net here. So don't try these tools in your host operating system. Okay, you can install some guest operating system and guest operating system in your like example, you can take VMware or it may be VirtualBox. Just download it and check all these type of tools. Okay, don't download in these tools from the third-party websites also, because they may come up with some binders. So these tools may hack your computer. So do not use these things, these tools directly to run on your host operating system. So we'll go for Windows forensics today. Some of the topics we'll discuss. Before that, we want to discuss one of the important thing in Windows operating system is registry editor. Okay. So where you can find this registry editor, regit edit, you can say. Just go for run. Type regedit, regit edit. Okay. So you can see registry editor here. So in this you can see HK local machine. Click on this. Okay, we can have a good session on this also. Regit edit. It manages all settings of your computer. Okay. Regit edit is one of the core part of Windows operating system, which is related to the settings here. Okay. So what you will learn from this regit edit? So you can go for run and do the. You can type the regit edit. You will get some registry editor. In this regit editor, almost all Windows OS operating system will be registered here. So what kind of settings you can see? So what are the hardware connected to your PC? You can see this hardware connected. Okay. And how many softwares are installed? What should be loaded when you restart your computer? Which extension should be open with what kind of software? Example, you can take a PDF file, any PDF file should open with some Acrobat reader. Some applications some application we need for that to open it. So how many USB slots are active? Okay. How many USB slots are active? Most of the information will store in the in this regit registry editor only. So when you are doing some forensics or investigation on specific computer, so this reged regit edit will help you so much. will give a lot of information. So H key current user. So H key current user means whoever log into the particular user settings, that particular user settings will be stored in this H key current user only. So 5 important keys will be there. When you open this registry editor, you can try this. H key local machine is common for all the users. So H key local machine software, you can see this number of softwares here. Okay. So HK local machine software, it may be a Microsoft, Windows. You can find Windows current version. Windows current version. Okay. And current Windows, what is the current version? You can see. You can see the current version in software. Current version. And you can run all the startup objects, whatever it will be loaded in the, will be mentioned in this particular history key. Software, Microsoft. Okay. In Microsoft, Windows, I want to find Windows. So Windows, click on Windows. Current version, you can find current version. And you can go for run. Where is the run? Yes, run. So you can find this run. So you can find the policies here. You can find some policies here. Policies. You can find some policies here. Also, in these policies, you can mention whether you should have task manager, whether you have run in your computer, whether to show some sort of control panel icons. All this information is mentioned in these policies here. So in this command, you can find the policies. This is the policies. So active desktop, attachments, data collection, exposure. Okay, now. So what are it may be? What are the policies you can see in this link? Computer, HK local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, run, policies. Okay. So many you can find so many policies. You can mention whether you should have task manager, whether you should have run in a computer, whether show some sort of control panel accounts. All this information is mentioned in the policies here. Okay. So this registry is a use subject. In fact, lot of keys are there. Thousands of registry keys are there. So we cannot go with all the study of all the topics in registry. So next point, registry is register is one of the most important things in Windows. That is regist editor plays important role. So we have another folder called as a prefetch also. You can run on the run. Just run prefetch. So it's asking the permission. So when you execute some sort of files, those files basic information also will be registered here. Okay, that is prefetch. Go for run. Just type prefetch. So you can find some sort of files here. Those are the files. The basic information will be registered. That means you are executing some Trojan file. So you can find some best Trojan files here, executive files here. Okay, if you do forensics in Windows, you want to learn all these things here. What is a prefetch? What is the keys we are using? 5 primary keys we are using in the registry editor. If you understand this concept, you can do the forensics. You can do investigation in the Windows operating system. Okay. So tomorrow I'll tell live memory forensics. Live memory forensics. Okay. Means what is for live memory forensics? How you are extracting data from your RAM and how you analyze the RAM content. All these things, how to check the critical things, how to check what list of processes running in particular computer, what are the services, what are the established connections. So what are the commands we are using for live memory forensics? Will be discussed in the next class. Okay. Now we'll go with our syllabus. So yesterday we stopped at give me 1 minute. So yesterday we started with what is a legal, ethical, and professional institution information security. So we discussed what is the difference between laws and ethics in information security. What are laws? What are ethics? What are culture modes? What are different types of? What is the difference between policy versus law? What is the policy versus criteria for policy enforcement, distribution, review, understanding, agreement, uniform enforcement, sorry, and types of laws we discussed. It may be a civil law, it may be criminal law, it may be private law, it may be public law. And we discussed some of the relevant US laws and general computer crime laws. We discussed yesterday previous class. We discussed what is the privacy and what are the US regulations for the privacy acts. So till now we discussed what is a privacy. So privacy is one of the hottest topics in information security here. So you can collect some great data from multiple sources, allows the creation of information security, information security, and number of addressing an individual's right to the privacy has been given in this privacy of customer information section. Okay. So this section of common carrier regulations to protect some confidentiality of customer information, and also aggregate the information is created by combining all pieces of non-private data. So often collected during software updates via cookies. We also discuss what is the Federal Privacy Act of 1974. So which regulates some government agencies and holds from the accountable if they release private information about the individuals or business without the permission. So we also discussed some of the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986. Is nothing but a collection of the collection of regulates the interception of wire, electronic or oral communication. Okay. So today we'll discuss what is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. It is also called as a HIPAA or Kendi-Kessenbaum Act. Okay. Most important is also known as a Kendi-Kessenbaum Act. Protects the confidentiality and security of healthcare data by enforcing some standards. Okay. So HIPAA affects all healthcare organizations, including doctor practices, health clinics, life insurances. Yes, life insurances. HIPAA specifies stiff penalties for the organizations that fail to compile the law. Okay, now that fail to compile the law here. And what is the fines they are correcting from the what are the fines up to some dollars? It may up to $250,000 a fine may be given, or maybe a 10 years imprisonment, 10 years prison if you don't follow this, if you don't avoid this type of act. Okay. So behind the basic privacy guidelines, as well as the procedures to protect healthcare information, electronic signatures have become more common, and HIPAA provides guidelines for use of these signatures based on security standards here that ensure message integrity, user authentication, and non-reputation. What is integrity? Anyone please chat in chat box. What is integrity? So nowadays for insurance, electronic signatures have become more common here. And HIPAA provides guidelines for use of this signature based on security standards here that ensures some message integrity. What is integrity? Please anyone chat in chat box. User authentication, non-reputation means. So these are the terms already we discussed in the previous class. Yes, integrity is nothing but without modification. Non-reputation means what is the final order sent from the seller to the buyer. Okay. So HIPAA has 5 fundamental principles, I can say. HIPAA has 5 fundamental principles. One is consumer control of medical information. Consumer control of medical information. So what is this really? The principle that patient and common control their personal health information is frequently involved and linked to the broader principle of patient. Okay. Next, what is the boundaries of use of medical information? So it sets some boundaries on use and release of health records. Okay, it sets some boundaries on use and release of health records here. Next, accountability for privacy of private information. So accountability in relation to privacy is an acceptance of responsibility for personal information, personal information protection, you can say. So accountability organization must have appropriate policies and procedures that promote good practices here. So another one is the balance of public responsibility for use of medical information for greater good measured against the impact of individuals. Next, security of health information. So this security refers directly to the protection of privacy of your health information. Security refers directly to the protection of privacy of health information. Example, we can take access controls such as passwords, Okay, PIN number. You can take example that limit access to your information. So encryption of your information, health information. So all this comes under the security of your health information. So encryption of your information means health information cannot be read and understood easily. Access control is nothing but passwords or PIN number that limit to access your information. Okay. So these are some common 5 principles of HIPAA. Next one is the Financial Services Moderation Act or Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, you can say. So in this contains some number of provisions focusing on affiliation among the banks, you can say. Affiliation among the banks. And these provisions that affect the banks, you can say. And you can also say security forms. Security forms. Or you can come under this insurance complaints. The Financial Service Moderation Act or Graham-Leach-Bliley Act. Okay. So these acts require all financial institutions to disclose their privacy policies on showing of non-public personal information. Okay, these acts requires all financial institutions to discover their privacy policies on showing of non-public personal information. Next, privacy continued. So one is identity theft. So this identity theft describes, in this we have one is a Federal Trade Commission, which describes identity theft as a occurring when someone uses your personal identifying information, like your name, your social security number. These are examples you can see, like your name, like your social number, social security number, credit card number, without your permission. It is committing to a fraud. It is a fraud. Other crimes you can say. Committing to fraud, or you can say it is a crime. Yes. So American people face this type of threats every year. So even organizations also be victims to identify this type of threats. So how the organizations will be facing this type of problems? So URL manipulation. Example you can take. URL manipulation. If you know the domain name, if you don't know the domain certificates, okay. So organizations also victims of this type of identity theft here, URL manipulations, or you can say your DNS redirection. Rewriting your DNS, the website DNS here. So all this comes under the fraud and related activity in connection with identification documents. Yes. So these are some examples given suspects identity theft. Report of to these three dominant consumer reporting companies that you identify is written here. Account, your account is compromised. Okay. Sometimes you say all the PIN number, account information, CVV number, close compromise account. Generally, if you have any account is blocked, okay, hacked. So close that compromise account. Okay. Dispute accounts open without your permission sometimes. So you can register your concern with FTC. So FTC recommend if someone suspects identity theft here. I say what is FTC? You can report the incident here. What is the incident to happen to either local police or police in a location where the identity theft is occurred. Okay. Even though if you are having problem with your credit card number is stolen, okay, you can inform to the local police. Any theft is happened for your credit card or any personals, you can define, you can say the location where the theft is identity theft is occurred generally to your local police. Next one is a export and espionage laws. So in this we have one more act called as a Economic Espionage Act of 1996. Okay. So what is the use of Economic Espionage Act of 1996? So it protects trade secrets. And security of your property acts, you can say. So this Economic Espionage Act of 1996 protects your trade secrets. It's also protect the American intellectual property. This law attempt to prevent trade secrets from illegally shared. This law attempt to prevent trade secrets from which is illegally shared, you can see. One more act is Security and Freedom through Encryption Act of 1999. You can call it SAFE. So which provides guidelines on encryption, guidelines how to use of encryption and provides protection from the government intervention, you can see. So include provision about the encryption that reinforce the right to use the self-encryption algorithms without consent of the key registrations. Without consent of the key registrations here. It's also prohibit the federal government from the requiring use of encryption contracts, grants, and another official document and correspondence. Okay. It's also prohibit the federal government from requiring use of encryption and contracts, grants, and another official document and correspondence here. So it's also stated that use of encryption is not a probable cause to suspect some criminal activity, but also relax expert restrictions here. Relax expert restriction means by Expert Administration Act of 1979. This also provides some additional penalties, use of encryption in commission of criminal activities. So these are some acts included provisions about the encryption, how to use the encryption techniques here without consent of your key registration. So many laws you can see. These many laws never asked in examination, but important. HIPAA is important. Export and epsilon is also important. Next one is the US copyright law. So US copyright law, intellectual property is dispossession and intellectual property recognized as a product asset in US intellectual property. So US copyright laws also extends to the electronic forms with proper acknowledgement, permissible to import portions of others work as a reference. Example, so many students attend their your voice is not clear. Now, this disturbance in audio. Wait. Now can you hear my voice? Yes. Okay. Please, all of you, mute your mic. So now we'll discuss US copyright law. So US copyright laws mainly place on intellectual property, which is recognized as a protected asset in the United States of America. So what is a copyright law? So without proper acknowledgement are permissible to include your portions of others' work as a reference. So if you publish any paper, so if you do any project, okay, when you come for final year, what you will do, generally copy from some different websites. So to copy, when you copy some document, you want to give some proper reference to your documentation. So even though you publish some paper, even though if you go for any copyright, okay, copyright laws, others work you are taking, if you are taking the others work as a portions of other works as a reference, then you want to keep in the reference point here. Okay, now you want to change the content here. If you don't change the content, what will happen? This is a copyright law again. So I told some techniques, whether you copied or not. I can keep in Google 2 double quotations here. The content where you copied, I can find out easily. I don't need of any tools here. I just double click. I can use a double quotes between your sentences, any form of sentences. Easily I can find where you copied that particular line also. Even though you take some reference, a proper portions of others' work, you want to include in the portions of in the reference point of view. In references, you can keep their name, the publish year, whatever it may be. If you publish any paper, any copyright law. Next, financial reporting. In financial reporting, one of the important act is Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Okay, which affects executive management of publicly traded corporations and public accounting firms. So this law is implemented in different phases, you can see. Different phases. Which seeks to improve reliability and accuracy of financial reporting, and which can increase the accountability of corporate governance. So there are some penalties for non-compliance, range from fines to jail also, jail terms. They may give fines also to jail terms also. So generally executives working in firms cover this loss. Some of the executives, employees working in the firms cover this law, and will seek some assurance. Will seek some assurance on reliability as well as the quality of information systems from the senior information technology managers. So executives, this law is applicable for executives working in the firms, organizations, which cover the law. Please try to understand, which cover the law, and will seek some assurance on reliability and quality of information systems from senior information technology managers. Next, freedom of information Act of 1966. So this act allows any person to access the federal agencies, you can see, agency records or information that is not determined to be matter of national security. So that is nothing but some information protected from the disclosure. So the US government agencies required to disclose any request information upon the receipt of written request. If they give any written request which is signed by some authorities, then only these government agencies, US government agencies, will disclose the information. So this act does not apply to the state or local government, you can say. This act does not apply to the state or local government agencies here, or to any private business or individuals, you can say. Freedom of Information Act of 1996. This act does not apply to the state, please remember, or local government agencies here, or any private business or individuals here. Freedom of Information Act of 1996. So state and local regulations. So there are some restrictions on organizations' computer technology use exist at the international, national, state, or local levels here. So information security professionals therefore understanding the state regulations, laws, you can say, and regulations, and ensure the organization's security policies and procedures here. Information security professionals, they want to follow the policies here. They want to follow the state regulations here, state laws here. And they need to ensure that organization security policies and procedures to the every individuals of the organization. If they don't follow these laws, if they don't follow these regulations, what will happen? If you work in organization and if you don't follow the laws, okay, if you don't follow the regulations of the organizations, if you don't follow the policies, you don't follow the procedures, so it comes under some particular law, again, some act, you can say. So you want to follow the state laws as well as the local regulations of your organizations. So you also have some international laws and legal bodies. So when organizations do some business on internet, so they do business globally generally, yes or no? So when organizations do some business on internet, they do business globally. Yeah. So what are the professions working in the organizations must have some sensitive of to the laws here and ethical values of many different cultures, societies, and countries here. So professions should follow these laws here, ethical values here. When you are doing some business on internet globally, why? Because the internet is a global network here. You are connected to a global network, many networks, you can say. So when you are connected to any other network companies, you want to follow some ethical values and different cultures, many cultures you want to follow here. Why? Because you're connected to the different country people here. If any customer from the different company is connected to you, so you have to be a very polite. You want to follow some laws, you have some ethical values, different cultures you have. You want to follow that. Because of political complexities of relationships among nations and differences in culture. So there are some few international laws relating to some privacy and information security. These international laws are very important. and limited in their enforceability. Okay. So one more law we have, European Council Cybercrime Convention. Okay, this law is exited in 2001, establishes international task force to overseeing the internet security functions, you can say, to oversee the internet security functions which are associated with internet activities. Example, internet activities for standardization international technology laws across the international bodies, you can say. Establishes international task force to oversee internet security functions, I can say, which are associated with internet activities for standardized international technology laws across the international bodies, you can say. So this law attempts to improve the effectiveness of international investigations into breaches of technology law. Attempts to improve effectiveness of international investigations into breaches of technology law, you can say. So these conventions generally will be received by intellectual property rights. These conventions will be received by intellectual property rights advocates due to the emphasis on copyright infringement prosecution. You can also have some cybercrime convention lacks realistic provisions for enforcement, lack in the realistic enforcement provisions for enforcement. So all this comes under European Council Cybercrime Convention. This law started in 2001. So one more law, Agreement on Trade-Related Accepts of Intellectual Property Rights. So this law is created by the worldwide organization, you can see. It's the first significant international efforts to protect intellectual property rights again. So which outlines requirements of for governmental oversight and legislation, means lawmaking, providing minimal levels of protection of intellectual property. So this agreement has covers 5 issues. One is the application of basic principles of trading system and international intellectual property agreements, you can say. This agreement covers 5 issues. One is the application of basic principles of trading system and international intellectual property agreements, you can say. Next one is this agreement also covers the protection to intellectual property rights here. It also covers enforcement of those rights by the countries in their own territories, and it also covers intellectual property disputes, you can say. It also covers the arrangements while now a new system is being introduced. So these are the rights. This is a right created. This is act created by the World Trade Organization. One more act, last act, Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA. So it's an American contribution. Is an American contribution to international effort to reduce the impact on copyright, trademark, privacy infringement. Reduce the effect of copyright, trademark, privacy infringement. especially when accomplished via removal of technological copyright protection measures here. This law is applicable, especially when accomplished via removal of technological copyright protection measures. So this American laws was created in response of European Union Directive 95/46 EC. It provides some protections and countermeasures, manufacture and trafficking of devices used in such protections, prohibit altering information attached or embedded in copyright materials. Yes. And excludes ISPs from some copyright infringement. So if you do any copyright, if you add any copyrighted material who are already claimed the copyright, okay, now this act will be applicable for those persons. So in next class, we'll see some more topics on ethics and information security. Okay.